Gentlemen, listen up. You've been silent, you've held back, you've respected the no contact rule, not as a punishment, but as power, and now you're wondering when is the perfect time to break it. The truth is, no contact isn't about waiting for her to come crawling back. It's about rediscovering your worth, rebuilding your mindset, and reminding yourself of the king you are. No contact is often misunderstood. Some see it as a tactic to manipulate or hurt the other person, but in truth, it's a deeply personal and powerful decision, one that has nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with reclaiming yourself. When a relationship ends, especially one that meant something real to you, it's easy to lose your center. Emotions are raw, thoughts are scattered, and your self-worth can take a serious hit. That's where no contact steps in, not as a game, but as a lifeline. Choosing to go no contact is an act of self-respect. It's you drawing a line and saying, I need space to heal, I need time to find myself again. It's about stopping the constant back and forth, the endless checking of texts, the late-night emotional chaos that leaves you drained. It's saying no more to the emotional roller coaster and yes to peace. The silence, although painful at first, forces you to confront what's really going on inside. You're not distracting yourself with messages or stalking her social media. You're not trying to fix someone else. You're fixing you. And that's the secret. No contact is not about her, it's about you. It's about putting the focus back on the one person you can actually control, yourself. During no contact, you begin to rebuild everything that was lost in the relationship. Your confidence, your clarity, your sense of purpose. You start to realize that you don't need someone else to complete you. You were whole all along. You just forgot. In that silence, something powerful begins to grow. At first, it's subtle. You get up with a little more energy. You hit the gym not to impress her, but because it makes you feel good. You go after your goals not out of spite, but because you finally remember who you are. Your value doesn't depend on whether she calls or texts. Your mood no longer swings with her attention. And when that shift happens, when you no longer wait by your phone or obsess over her next move, that's when you begin to win. You begin to see the relationship for what it was, not what you fantasized it to be. You recognize your own mistakes without shame and acknowledge her flaws without denial. You grow wiser, stronger, sharper. You stop chasing what left and start attracting what aligns. And the irony is, that's exactly when people tend to come back. When they sense that they've lost access to you, not just physically, but emotionally. That's when they realize they're no longer the center of your world. But by then, something fundamental has changed. You've remembered your worth. You're no longer the man who would settle, who would beg, who would compromise his value for temporary comfort. You're the man who chose himself. And that power, the power of self-respect, of emotional independence, of peace, radiates. It shows in your posture, your tone, your energy, and it speaks louder than any words ever could. So no contact is not weakness, it's not running away, it's not avoidance. It's choosing to be alone with your truth until you're strong enough to live it boldly. It's about silencing the noise so you can hear your own voice again. And once you do, you realize that the most powerful thing you can ever do is not to get her back, but to get yourself back. That's self-power. And that's what makes no contact so transformational. Breaking no contact out of weakness is one of the most common and costly mistakes people make after a breakup. It's the moment when the emotions take over, loneliness, sadness, confusion, and you reach for your phone, not because you're ready, but because you want relief. You want the pain to stop, the silence to break, and for just a moment, you hope a single message will fix everything, but it never does. Reaching out from that place only reinforces the very dynamic that pushed the two of you apart in the first place. When you contact her from a place of weakness, what you're really doing is saying, I can't handle this alone. I need you to make me feel better. That may not be what your message says on the surface, but that's what it communicates. She'll sense it whether consciously or not. That desperation leaks through. And the hard truth is this. Neediness repels attraction. The more emotionally dependent you appear, the less value you hold in her eyes. It's not because she's cruel or heartless. It's because people are drawn to strength, to confidence, to emotional stability. When those things are missing, the connection starts to feel heavy, pressured, and imbalanced. Breaking no contact out of weakness also robs you of your own growth. No contact isn't just a timeout from her. It's a period designed for your personal reset. It's supposed to give you space to feel everything, process everything, and rise from the ashes with clarity. When you interrupt that process too soon, you stunt your own evolution. You go back to the same emotional space you were in when things ended. Confused, unhealed, still tied to the hope that she'll come back and make it all better. The problem is, even if she responds when you reach out, it often doesn't go the way you imagined. Maybe she gives you a short reply. Maybe she seems distant. Maybe she ignores you completely. And in that moment, your emotions spiral even more. Now, not only are you hurting, but you're also dealing with rejection. Again, you've given her the power again. And instead of regaining control of the situation, you've just confirmed the very fear you were trying to escape, that she's no longer invested and that you're still not okay without her. That's why strength matters. That's why patience matters. You don't reach out to her until the reason you're doing it is grounded in confidence, not fear. When you break no contact from a place of power, it's not about validation or begging. It's about clarity. It's about seeing the situation for what it really is and making a move with emotional control. And that's what changes everything. She will notice the difference in your energy when you no longer come to her needing something. She'll sense that shift. When you're calm, composed, and centered, your presence speaks volumes. You're not chasing, you're choosing. You're not seeking reassurance. You're offering a connection, if it aligns with your standards. That's when the dynamic starts to shift. That's when she starts to wonder, not about your feelings, but about your new strength. But to get there, you have to resist the temptation to break no contact too early. You have to sit with your emotions, no matter how uncomfortable they get. You have to learn to self-soothe, to grow through the discomfort instead of trying to escape it. Because once you realize that you can stand on your own 2 feet, that your happiness doesn't depend on anyone else, that's when you're truly free. And that's when you hold the power, not just in the relationship, but in your entire life. Rebuilding yourself after a breakup is the cornerstone of true healing and growth. It's the phase where you shift your focus inward and commit to rediscovering who you are beyond the relationship. When a bond ends, especially one that once felt significant, it can leave you feeling lost, broken, or unsure of your identity. For many, the relationship becomes a large part of their daily life and self-image. So when it's gone, there's a void that feels impossible to fill. That's why rebuilding yourself is essential, not just to move on, but to come back stronger, wiser, and more complete. The first step in this process is recognizing that your worth and identity aren't tied to someone else's presence or approval. It's about understanding that you are a whole person, capable of happiness and success on your own terms. This realization is powerful because it lays the foundation for everything else you do during the healing phase. When you start to accept and appreciate yourself as an individual, independent of your past relationship, you take back control of your life. Rebuilding yourself involves more than just emotional recovery. It means focusing on every aspect of your being. Physical health is a key part of this. Exercise, proper nutrition, and rest aren't just good habits. They're ways to rebuild your energy and confidence. When you feel physically strong, your mental state improves. You start to see yourself as someone who can take care of themselves, who values their body and mind, and who is capable of growth. This physical rebuilding often sparks momentum that carries over into emotional and psychological areas. Mental and emotional rebuilding is just as important. It requires honest reflection about the relationship, what worked, what didn't, and what you've learned. This self-awareness prevents you from repeating the same patterns and helps you grow into a better version of yourself. It's also a time to process feelings, grief, anger, sadness without judgment. Suppressing emotions only delays healing. Allowing yourself to feel deeply helps you release those old wounds and make space for new experiences. Beyond the personal, rebuilding yourself often means reconnecting with passions and interests that may have been put aside during the relationship. Maybe you stopped playing music, quit a sport, or neglected friendships because your time and energy were focused elsewhere. Now is the moment to reignite those parts of your life. Pursuing hobbies and goals not only brings joy, but also reinforces your independence. It reminds you that your happiness is multifaceted and not dependent on another person's presence. Another crucial part of rebuilding is setting new boundaries. This means being clear about what you will accept and what you won't in future relationships and interactions. Healthy boundaries protect your emotional well-being and show respect for yourself. They reflect the lessons you've learned and the growth you've achieved. When you rebuild yourself with firm boundaries in place, you create a stronger foundation for whatever relationships come next. The process of rebuilding is often gradual and non-linear. There will be good days and bad days, moments of clarity and moments of doubt. But the key is persistence. Continuing to work on yourself, even when it feels hard or uncomfortable. Over time, you'll notice changes. Your confidence returns, your mindset shifts, and your sense of purpose strengthens. You become more self-reliant and less reactive to external circumstances. Rebuilding yourself first doesn't just prepare you to potentially reconnect with your ex in a healthier way. It prepares you for life. It ensures that whether you move forward alone or with someone new, you do so from a place of strength, self-love, and clarity. When you invest in yourself fully, you become magnetic, not because you're trying to attract others, but because your authenticity shines through. Ultimately, rebuilding yourself is the most important journey you can undertake after a breakup. It's a commitment to becoming the best version of yourself, not for anyone else, but for you. And that transformation is what leads to true happiness and lasting fulfillment. Confidence is magnetic because it signals strength, stability, and self-assurance, qualities that naturally draw people in. When you carry yourself with confidence, you're not just projecting an image, you're radiating a deep internal belief in your own value and worth. This internal conviction is powerful because it creates a sense of security and attraction that others instinctively pick up on. People gravitate toward those who seem comfortable in their own skin, who don't seek approval but instead offer a calm, steady presence. At its core, confidence isn't about arrogance or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about authenticity and embracing your true self, flaws and all. When you're confident, you accept your strengths and acknowledge your weaknesses without being defined by them. This self-acceptance frees you from the constant need to impress or prove yourself, which can feel exhausting and desperate. Instead, confidence allows you to engage with others from a place of ease, making interactions more genuine and enjoyable. One of the reasons confidence is so magnetic is because it creates a positive feedback loop. When you believe in yourself, you take risks, speak up, and pursue your goals with determination. This proactive attitude leads to successes and achievements, which further boost your self-esteem. Others notice this momentum. They see a person who is capable, resilient, and in control of their life, and that inspires respect and admiration. In relationships, this energy is incredibly attractive because it signals that you can be a dependable partner, someone who can handle challenges without falling apart. Confidence also affects the way you communicate. It shapes your body language, your tone of voice, and the way you listen and respond. Confident people maintain eye contact, stand tall, and speak clearly, all subtle signals that convey assurance. They don't fidget or hesitate nervously, which can undermine trust and connection. Instead, their presence commands attention naturally. This kind of nonverbal communication is often more persuasive and impactful than words alone, because it taps into deeper subconscious levels of attraction. Moreover, confidence allows you to set healthy boundaries and express your needs without fear of rejection or judgment. When you know your worth, you're less likely to tolerate disrespect or settle for less than you deserve. This clarity not only protects you emotionally, but also elevates the dynamic in any relationship. People respond positively to someone who respects themselves because it challenges them to do the same. It raises the standard of interaction and deepens mutual respect. Another aspect of confidence that makes it magnetic is the emotional stability it brings. Confident individuals are less likely to be ruled by anxiety, jealousy, or insecurity. They approach relationships with calmness and balance, which creates a safe and supportive environment for others. This emotional maturity fosters deeper connections because it encourages openness and trust. When someone feels safe and valued, attraction naturally grows stronger. Building confidence doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that involves self-reflection, facing fears and stepping out of comfort zones repeatedly. It requires patience and practice to silence the inner critic that tells you you're not good enough. But every small step forward reinforces your belief in yourself and chips away at doubt. Over time, this cumulative growth transforms the way you see yourself and how others see you. The magnetic power of confidence is undeniable in every aspect of life, from friendships to professional success and, most importantly, in romantic relationships. When you develop true confidence, you create a powerful presence that draws others in effortlessly. You no longer have to chase attention or approval because your energy naturally attracts it. In essence, confidence is a form of personal freedom. It liberates you from the need to control how others perceive you and instead allows you to focus on becoming your best self. And when you live from that place of freedom and authenticity, you become truly magnetic. Reversing the chase is one of the most powerful shifts you can make after a breakup or during any period of no contact. Traditionally, many people fall into the pattern of pursuing someone who has pulled away, constantly reaching out, trying to win back attention, and hoping for validation. But the truth is, this dynamic rarely works in your favor. When you chase, you give the other person the upper hand. You place your value in their hands and allow your emotions to be dictated by their responses. Reversing the chase means flipping the script. Instead of being the one who pursues, you become the one who is pursued. This shift starts with understanding attraction itself. People are naturally drawn to confidence, mystery, and independence. When you're constantly available, always responding immediately, and clearly eager to reconnect, it removes that element of intrigue. It signals that your world revolves around them, which diminishes your perceived value. On the other hand, when you pull back and focus on your own life, your own growth, and your own happiness, you create a magnetic energy that naturally draws others in. You stop being the prize to chase and become the prize everyone wants to win. Reversing the chase requires patience and self-control, because it means resisting the urge to reach out first or to respond immediately every time they try to reconnect. It means living your life fully and unapologetically, regardless of what they're doing or not doing. This doesn't mean being cold or indifferent, but rather cultivating an emotional independence that lets you stay grounded and centered. When you're emotionally self-sufficient, you're no longer affected by their actions or silence. This independence makes you more attractive because it shows you don't need anyone else to be happy or whole. In practical terms, reversing the chase changes the dynamic of communication. Instead of eagerly replying to every message, you might choose when and how to respond thoughtfully. Instead of being the first to call or text, you wait and see if they reach out. This subtle shift places the power balance back in your favor because it forces them to invest effort if they want to maintain the connection. It also shows that your attention is valuable and not something you give away freely. When they realize you're no longer chasing, they may begin to wonder why and what they've lost. This dynamic often triggers a realization in the other person. They start to see you differently, not as someone who is desperate or dependent, but as someone who has standards, self-respect, and confidence. That can ignite a desire to win you back, to prove they're worthy of your time and energy. The chase flips, and they become the ones pursuing you, trying to rekindle the connection you once shared. This reversal often leads to more balanced and healthier interactions because both parties are invested and engaged on more equal terms. Reversing the chase is also about protecting your emotional well-being. When you're always chasing, you expose yourself to constant rejection, disappointment, and insecurity. It's emotionally draining and can trap you in a cycle of hope and despair. By stepping back and reversing the roles, you regain control over your feelings. You create space for clarity and objectivity, which helps you make better decisions about whether the relationship is truly worth pursuing or if it's time to move on. Ultimately, reversing the chase is a strategy rooted in self-respect and empowerment. It's about valuing yourself enough to not settle for less than you deserve and not chasing after someone who isn't fully invested. It's a mindset shift from seeking approval to granting it selectively. When you embrace this, you naturally become more magnetic and attractive, not because you're trying to manipulate someone's feelings, but because you're demonstrating your own strength and worth. This reversal doesn't just apply to romantic relationships. It's a life principle that can improve friendships, work relationships, and any dynamic where imbalance exists. When you stop chasing and start attracting, you set a new standard for how others should treat you, and that makes all the difference. You transform from someone who waits for validation into someone who creates their own happiness and commands respect simply by being themselves. Timing is everything, especially when it comes to breaking no contact and reconnecting with someone from your past. Too often people rush this process because of impatience, loneliness, or the desperate hope that one message can fix everything. But the truth is, timing isn't just about counting days or weeks. It's about readiness, both yours and hers. It's about waiting until the moment aligns perfectly with the emotional and mental state necessary for a meaningful and balanced interaction. When timing is off, even the best intentions can fall flat or backfire. One of the biggest mistakes is breaking no contact too soon. After a breakup, emotions run high. You may feel hurt, confused, or lost, and those feelings can cloud your judgment. Reaching out while you're still emotionally vulnerable often leads to messages filled with desperation, regret, or confusion, none of which create attraction or respect. Instead, it's important to use the no-contact period, not just to create distance, but to heal and regain your emotional stability. This is the foundation for timing to be right. If you break silence while still entangled in pain or longing, you risk reopening wounds without the strength to handle what follows. Timing also involves recognizing when you've genuinely rebuilt yourself. This means not just superficially feeling better, but truly stepping into a new version of yourself, one that is confident, independent, and whole. When you're ready, the energy you bring into the conversation is different. You don't seek validation or reassurance. You communicate from a place of calm and clarity. That's magnetic and signals growth, which can inspire curiosity and respect from her side. If you reach out too early, you might still be caught in old patterns and dynamics, which she will likely sense and respond to accordingly. On the other hand, timing also means paying attention to her state. Sometimes the perfect time is when she has had the space to reflect and recognize her own feelings. You can't force this, but subtle signs might show she's open to reconnecting, like occasional contact, engagement on social media, or changes in her behavior toward you. Being too impatient and ignoring these cues can lead to missed opportunities or create awkwardness. The art of timing is balancing your own readiness with a keen awareness of hers, creating a space where a reconnection feels natural rather than forced. It's crucial to understand that timing doesn't mean waiting passively. It's about active preparation, continuing your personal growth, strengthening your confidence, and living a fulfilling life. This preparation not only improves your own well-being, but also changes the way you come across. When you finally break no contact at the right time, your message carries a weight that can't be ignored because it's backed by genuine transformation. You are no longer the person who lost their way. You are the person who found themselves again. Another important aspect of timing is emotional intelligence. You need to be able to manage your own expectations and accept that even when the timing feels right to you, things might not unfold as hoped. Sometimes the right timing leads to a rekindling, and sometimes it simply brings closure and peace. Being prepared for either outcome shows maturity and strength. It also ensures you won't fall into the trap of clinging to false hope or rushing back into unhealthy dynamics. In relationships and life, timing often feels like an invisible force that can't be controlled. But what you can control is your readiness to act when the moment presents itself. This means resisting impulsive urges, cultivating patience, and trusting the process of growth and healing. It means knowing that breaking no contact too early isn't just about losing leverage. It's about risking your emotional well-being and the possibility of a future connection. When timing aligns, everything flows naturally. Your words feel right, your energy resonates, and the response you get reflects genuine interest and respect. That's when the doors open for real conversations, deeper understanding, and possibly a new chapter. Until then, the best thing you can do is honor the timing by investing in yourself and waiting for the moment when you're not just ready to reach out, but ready to show up as your best self.